Hey everyone, welcome back to Bogies Are Us. I'm Sean.
And I'm John.
All right, man. Well, we had a pretty interesting week last week in the People's Open, as they call it, in the waste management tournaments.
Yeah, I mean, as always, definitely lived up to the excitement from the fans' perspective. Definitely a little calmer this year, which probably helped the tournament overall. I mean, nobody was getting thrown out or at least as often. I'm sure there was a bunch of arrests and everything, but we never really heard any numbers from it this year, which is a pretty good sign that things were a lot more tame than they were in previous years. I believe there was a lot of security on 16 where for anyone that threw anything onto the green, they were getting thrown out to begin with. So definitely a lot more calmer in terms of the overall fan attitude, but definitely loud, definitely exciting. I mean, it turned out to be a pretty good event overall. Kind of a one horse race at the end, but some big names played well, and it definitely made for an entertaining tournament.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, um, I forget who it was who got the hole in one.
Emiliano Grillo.
Thank you. Yeah, got that hole in one on 16, and the fans went crazy. I mean, you expect it, right? They crazy with birdie putts, but man, I mean, that's when things were thrown out there. It took them a while to clean it up, right? I mean, you expect it on 16 when something like that happens. I think they expect it. They're not blind to it, but I mean, overall, like yeah, you're like you said, it was a really good tournament. I actually really enjoyed watching it this year. I mean, our picks, which I forgot to hit upload apparently on everything. I had it all on the internet, like right there, and I just forgot to hit upload on last week on the episode. But both of our picks did really, really well. Um, I went with Justin Thomas. You had Jordan Spieth, I believe.
I mean, Spieth was on the radar. I think I was going with Scheffler and Taylor as the main two, but
That
I figured Spieth, if it was going to come around, it was going to start showing up here.
Yeah. So I mean, Jordan played unbelievable. It's great to see, kind of his game kind of back to it. I know it's only his first real tournament since that in like his I think his back or hip. I forget
Uh,
what
yeah, he's
it's
coming off of injury. I forget exactly what it is, but
yeah, right? So but it's good to see him like I mean he was at one point, supposed to be what Rory was and Tiger, right? He's supposed to be what Scotty Scheffler is now. Like he went on that run. He was the number one player in the world for so long. It was hard to beat him and he won the Masters. He's won the Open,
yeah,
right?
now we kind of look back at his career as kind of what was a great splash in the pan of this guy's the hottest thing on the planet to where did he go? And now he's starting to work his way back. I mean, kind of the Jason Day situation as well, where,
Yeah.
a top player, world number one for a short period of time, had an injury, fell off, and now he's working his way back.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think Jason Day has the love that I'm sorry, Jordan Spieth has the love Jason Day does, but it's enjoyable watching the players come back, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, we want the PGA to be competitive, and if those big faces and the big names aren't, then it's not as fun, right? So seeing Jordan up there, Justin Thomas, who was tied for six, Rob McIntyre, Canadian Adam Hadwin, I believe was T9.
Yep.
Um, so we had a Canadian in the top 10. He really gave it a go, but I mean, Thomas Detry played lights out. Like
Yeah,
I
he
think
he ran away with it.
seven shots, right?
Yeah,
I know
seven
it's
shot win.
minus 24.
Yep. And just kind of close it out. He goes birdie, 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 last four holes. Like nobody was catching him. Like nobody lost
No,
this event. Thomas Detry just
no.
won the event. Like he
Yeah,
just went out
dude.
there and just took over.
Yeah, he went lights out, and no one was catching him. No one. He on a rocket ship and just went. I mean, end of birdie your last four holes. That's incredible. Like he stepped up on 16 and it was loud and he just dialed in a shot real nice and close to the hole and you knew it was kind of over going from there. So, but yeah, it was good, fun golf overall for the week. I did see there was a couple fights that broke out in the stands.
Mhm.
I'll find it and send you. But I mean, expect it to happen when you have that much alcohol kind of flowing at those kind of tournaments. But it's good to see that the numbers weren't as crazy as last year.
Yeah, I mean they do call it essentially the Arizona State frat party of a golf tournament. So, I mean,
Yeah,
the occasional fight here and there, again, not surprising. It's one of those things where like, why do you have to fight at a golf tournament? You're not even playing in the event. Like, what could have happened that pissed you off
yeah.
so much that you need to fight somebody? I just don't understand it. I mean, alcohol will do crazy things to you, but
I don't even understand. Like golf isn't a sport where you need to fight. I mean, if you hit someone with a ball and don't yell for 'em, maybe something's gonna happen, right? But like, I don't understand fighting on a golf course, even if you're playing. Like, eh, you know, just play some golf. But
yeah,
that's
exactly.
my but I mean, it's better. It's more fun to watch when, good golf is played and the top players are up there. I I really enjoyed it this weekend. It was a good weekend for golf, and it just makes me more excited for this week because it's like it is a one that all those guys are playing this weekend.
Yeah, back to a designated event this week with the Genesis relocated to Torrey Pines, the South Course, for the second time this season. Unfortunately, Riviera not able to host due to the wildfires in LA. So we'll get a second run at Torrey Pines, which I think some people are excited for. It seems to be that San Diego area is getting a lot of rain, so they're growing out the rough. They're getting it pretty chewy. It's going to be very U.S. Open style rough, from what it sounds like. So I mean, it's going to be a battle. I saw something today that they were talking about just from the Farmers Insurance Open, uh, the scores of the players when they played the South Course during those tournaments. And you would get 3 rounds on the South Course during the Farmers, and it was like -1, -2, -2, -2. So I mean, this could be the week that we see -3, -4 being the winning score. +6, +7 being a cut line after 2 rounds. I mean, this is going to be a battle for some of the guys who have a hard time getting out of thick rough, and that's where the guys who are hitting it well off the tee are going to have a pretty good advantage against the guys who are missing.
Yeah, I agree. Like you're definitely gonna want and this is my opinion. We saw it, a couple weeks ago when they were at Torrey, and now that it's even more wet, European players, this is their game, right? This
Mhm.
course fits most of those European guys. The rain definitely suits them because they're used to growing up in it, right? I like you just it's if you can hit the ball far and control the ball, you're most likely going to win this week. Could I be wrong? Maybe. But you're going to see those guys once you get into the rough, those stronger guys, they're going to be able to just punch the ball out. They're going to be able to really get through that thick stuff, right? I mean, how hard, Bermuda grass and stuff. I know they're not in Florida, but just how thick that grass is already compared to like what we use up here, right? You get it wet and it's sticky and it sucks. So it'll be
Yeah,
interesting to watch this guys play.
yeah, bent grass up here is pretty easy to get out of in most conditions. But yeah, with how I mean, the humidity and the moisture and just how thick everything grows down there. I don't know if it really is Bermuda, but I think it might be like a different strain of Poana or bluegrass or
Hmm.
something. It's just stickier. It's harder to get out of. If you get a little bit of moisture in there, it becomes like glue. Really got to swing hard at it to get through. I mean, and again, like you said, there's going to be some guys that are going to be able to work through it. But I think when we look at it at the end of the week, it's going to be the guys who are within the top 15, top 20 in terms of strokes gained off the tee are going to be the guys up at the top. Because I just don't see how a guy who hits it, let's just say 300 off the tee, is going to get around a 7,700-yard golf course hitting out of the rough all day.
Yeah, I mean, and that is just defeating, and the energy, like hitting out of that rough, is just it's gotta suck. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
I wouldn't want to hit out of the rough up even up here all day, right?
Yeah.
When you get some of those private courses, they really throw out their rough and then make it tough, and you're not wanting to hit out of that all day. Why would you want to definitely do it down there? Not me. right? I mean, those guys are way stronger than I am hitting out of that rough. Like you a guy like Rory who just makes it look easy. But yeah, I nope, no thanks.
Yeah. And I mean, this is again, it's Torrey Pines. I mean, a lot of these guys are familiar with the course because they've played it so often between the occasional major championship plus the Torrey Pines event with the Farmers Insurance. So, I mean, I don't think there's going to be anything that's really going to jump out at these guys if the conditions start to get better. Again, it sounds like it's raining there right now. It should rain into tomorrow for the first round. If it clears up for the weekend, maybe we start seeing these guys go a little bit deeper. If we get 70 degrees and warm and sunny, and the course kind of dries out a little bit. But I mean, even at that point, if they're not shaving the rough, if they're letting it grow out a little bit, it's going to get tough.
Yeah, and I know I think Tiger was saying he was going to speed up the greens a little. He was going to work with them to speed them up or something. I forget what I heard. He said he was going to do to make it tougher, but
Yeah, I mean, and now Tiger's not even playing the tournament too. So, I mean,
yeah,
obviously he's got some things going on, some family stuff, some mental stuff. Can't really blame the guy for taking the week off. But I mean, since he's not playing, he's going to maybe have a little bit more of a say because he doesn't have to deal with it.
yeah. I mean, I was super bummed when I heard. Obviously, he's been through enough of surgeries and injuries, and then his mom passed a week and a half ago,
Yeah,
2 weeks ago, right? Roughly. And as someone who's lost their mom recently, trust me, I understand. So yeah, I get it. It's like he needs a week off, and hopefully he's fully ready by the Masters. I don't know what event he would play in if
I mean he'll probably
before.
play the Arnold Palmer. Again, a fairly
Yeah,
flat course in Florida, not too hard of a walk. I don't expect him to play anything other than that. I mean, maybe he'll play the players, uh, but I think if anything, it's going to be Bay Hill players and then straight to Augusta.
yeah. Yeah, actually, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, but I mean, everyone got so amped up about him playing, and Monday we just get the notification saying, no, never mind, right? So it kind of sucks, but the field is strong, right? We get all your top players, um, who's all exempt, so it's still a good field. It does it suck that you don't get to see Tiger? Yeah. Whoa, hey, buddy.
Right.
But yeah, no, I think we're in for a great week of golf, and Torrey Pines never really lets us down.
I mean, Torrey is again one of the premier venues for a golf tournament. I mean, this is one that people will tune in for the course itself. I mean, we've talked about it in the past. You got to have a venue to host a tournament like this, and if you don't have the venue, you're going to lose viewership. So for them, it was good the fact that they were able to get Torrey Pines to step in as a secondary venue for Riviera. Obviously, we're going to see a lot of Riviera over the next couple of years. The LA Olympics is going to have the golf tournament there in 2028, I believe it is. So
Hmm.
we'll see it then. And then I believe you've also got US Amateur going to Riviera. Don't quote me on that one. But
I
there's a
actually do believe that, though.
yeah, there was another big event that was going to Riviera as well. So, I mean, we're going to see it a lot. Hopefully, the course is still more or less unaffected from the fires. I haven't seen any photos of it. It seemed like it was in a kind of a valley next to the course. So I don't think the course really had too much damage. But
Yeah,
obviously, you got to
and
err on the side of safety when you have 30, 40, 50,000 people a day going through the stands.
yeah, 100%. I mean, I know the fires have kind of calmed down, and people are starting to finally go back to their homes and seeing it and stuff. So that's a plus side, um, because it's scary. I mean, we as a province went through that last year, so we think about them, but yeah, it's good that they got out and got safe. And like you said, it Torrey Pines. I don't think you could go wrong ever putting a tournament there, right?
No.
It's the reason why they've used it so many times with U.S. Opens, um, PJ Championships, and
Hmm.
stuff. So, yeah, like I think it's gonna be it's a great course. if you toughen it up more than it was at the Farmers, it's going to be super entertaining. And I like that it's a little bit more wet because you and I always talk about how we don't want to see, I mean, of course, like Phoenix, TBC, right? Um, you're expecting the, that 20 to 25 to win it, kind of. You know what I mean? I think that it's just one of those courses that those players can attack, go. There's shorter par fours for those guys, like 17. They hit it so far, it rolls onto the green, right? So you're expecting a little bit of a lower score, but at Torrey Pines, on a wet, rainy day and a little bit of wind, it can make things really difficult for you.
Yeah, I mean, I've always kind of enjoyed the tournaments that finish kind of in that -15 to -20 area. I mean, you could play good golf and still shoot 68s and have that be a low round of the day and kind of carry it from there. It's these like -27, -30, -32 events. Those ones, it's like, okay, it's cool that they're shooting these low numbers and it shows the skill that these guys have, but it kind of takes away from a lot of the drama when you
Yeah.
have less guys that could actually compete for that. Like again, this week, 7-shot win. Even if you take out the last 4 holes, it was still 3 shots ahead of a couple guys. I mean, there was between 17 and 15 is second through 10th. So, I mean, there was enough guys there that it could have been entertaining and we
Yeah.
could have had some drama going into the later part of the tournament. But obviously, again, Detry just kind of ran away with it 4 under his last 4 holes to really kind of put the nail in the coffin.
Yeah.
Uh, again, even if he's at 20, right, then it's like, okay, well, weirder things have happened. Guy hooks it into the water on 18, makes double. Michael Kim maybe makes his putt on 18. That was pretty close. All of a sudden, we're in a playoff again. Um, and this is probably again going maybe a little bit off, but like that's the whole thing with like the Super Bowl this last weekend was that it just wasn't competitive, right? I mean, if you go back and you say, yeah, okay, the game's going to end 40 to 22, but in the fourth quarter it's going to be 29-22, and there's going to be back and forth action. I don't think anybody's going to be upset with it. But when it's
No.
37-0 halfway through the third quarter, like the game's over.
Yeah. I mean, the Eagles were literally playing their second string quarterback for the fourth quarter.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, it's crazy. But no, I agree. Like, I mean, crazier things have happened on the PGA. I agree, right? And realistically, you touched on it. Like 2 to 15 or 2 to 20, they were nice and tight. Like the scoring was tight. You had one guy who just showed up on a couple different holes and played better that day, those days.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like than the rest of the field. Like it was just one guy. Right? It's not like there was two or three. It was one guy's like, you know what? I'm having a week and I'm about to win it. You know, and that's what you need. You don't need a whole field shooting 25, 30, 35, right? Like you do we get in Hawaii, right? So like yeah, I mean I quite like I said, I quite enjoyed the waste management this week. I think good golf was played overall. Yeah, we got really big names up at the top as well. And it shockingly enough, Thomas Detry won. I I hadn't heard about him in forever. Then all of a sudden he was right up there. And I was like, whoa, welcome back, bud.
Yeah, I mean, he's been on tour for years. I mean, it's good for him to finally break through here. I mean, he's got his exemption for a couple years on the PGA Tour now, gets him into the majors, puts him in very good standing to potentially squeeze into the Ryder Cup at the end of the year as a European player. I mean, I think there's going to be a lot of guys that would be okay having Thomas Detry as a partner with him hitting it 310, 320 off the tee and giving them a lot of mid or short irons into the greens on some of these alternate shot days. Um, but I mean, Robert McIntyre was there with a couple of the European guys waiting for him at the end of the round, kind of there to celebrate that because like the one thing that the Europeans have is a little bit of unity within their
Yeah.
PGA Tour guys. Like they're all there. They kind of have their own kind of club of European players that they're pretty tight. So it's good to see that he was able to finish it off and kind of bring it home for the Europeans. I mean, this was what the fifth European winner so far this year. Sepp
Yeah.
Straka, Rory. Detry, um, well, and then I guess Matsuyama, international, not European.
International. Yeah.
But there's only been one U.S. winner so far, and that was I actually forget who it was that the year American that won earlier this year. Uh,
Yeah, I'm gonna look it up because it's gonna bother me. Um,
I want to say it was Wyndham Clark, but I know it wasn't Wyndham Clark.
oh, Nate
Oh,
Taylor won international.
the guy that with the
Harry
really punchable
English.
face, Harris English.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, he's the only
He,
American winner
he
so far this
won.
season.
He won the Farmers.
Yeah, I don't expect him to be winning this week again. I mean, I feel like he got his thing there with the Farmers. I'm looking at some European players this week for the Genesis. I don't know if you've kind of been looking at the field and if anybody's been standing out this week for picks.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie to you. I am going with Rory, and it's not. I feel like it's not shocking with how the weather is and the course we're on. Um, if it's wet and cooler, he hits the ball the furthest on tour, if not one of the further biggest hitters. He can place. He might drive the ball the best too. Um, and if the greens are soft and wet, he's going to be able to just go out. And I really think he's playing unbelievable golf right now. Um, at this point, he might look like the best player on tour, but he's 1 for 1. So I can't say that, but he did really well last time he was down there. Obviously won. The conditions just suit his game. Yeah, Rory's kind of who I'm riding with this week.
I mean, you were kind of touched on like the hottest player on tour. What do you think of Justin Thomas right now?
Oh,
Like Justin Thomas seems to be on a tear. Like
I love myself some JT. Hey man, I picked him in the last couple of weeks. JT, I think could be a comeback player, right? Him or Jordan. Um, yeah, yeah. I mean, he's playing super consistent, so like, I'm not opposed to it. I think right now, I think we've touched on it, is the Europeans are playing lights out.
Mhm.
And again, I for myself, like the Europeans, I kind of was like sneaking it in there without saying it earlier when I was talking about it. But like the cold weather and the rain and just the San Diego golf right now suits a lot of European golf players.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like every time I turn on the TV, it's another highlight of Justin Thomas holding out from somewhere. I
I
mean,
know.
it just he seems to be on form. I mean, how long is he able to keep this up? What does it mean for Justin Thomas in terms of some of the big tournaments? We'll have to find out. But he seems to be in the playing well. He's in the right shape. I mean, for me, I'm going to go a little bit off the board here. I got looking at some PJ Tour stats from this year of who's been teeing it really well, strokes gained off the tee, finding fairways. I'm going to go with a European as well with Rasmus Højgaard. Um,
Hoygaard going
he
this week.
was tied for 12th this week at Waste Management. He's one of the top players off the tee. I think he's 11th on the tour for strokes gained off the tee.
Yeah.
He hits it 310. He's one of the more accurate drivers of the ball out there as well. I think in these conditions, this is the type of setup that's going to suit him, being able to put it in play, not really having to hit out of the rough a whole lot, as long as his strong play off the tee continues. Outside of that, I mean, there's a lot of good storylines that are coming out of this week. Michael Kim, who came runner-up at Waste Management, who went to Torrey Pines High School, gets into the field this week at Torrey Pines, so that's going to be a fun story to watch. Kind of the hometown kid. Would love to see Michael Kim have a strong finish. But yeah, Rasmus Højgaard is going to be the one I'm really paying attention to this week.
Yeah, I mean, great pick. As soon as you said that, I said that's actually a great pick. Yeah, I just think it suits. I mean, Torrey Pine suits his game really
Mm-hmm.
well. I mean, and he's super fun to watch. One of the things I really enjoy about watching him and his brother.
Hmm.
Both guys again who could be on that Ryder Cup team this year, probably should be or will be. I don't know, but there's a couple guys to watch out for sure.
I mean, I'd be a little surprised if both of them made the team, but I mean, the European side is pretty deep overall. I would be a little surprised if neither of them made it as well. I think they play quite well. Again, it's when you get to that like 7 through 12 spot for the
Oh
European
yeah,
side, you've got a lot of competition there, right? Like a Rob McIntyre, Thomas Detry. Where does John Rahm fit into that? As now, given that live guys are able to play on the Ryder Cup too.
hmm
You know, I don't know if you'd want to go as deep as to say Sergio has a chance, but I mean, Sergio's also the like the number one Ryder Cup player of all time.
yeah,
I'm like, unless he starts playing really well this year, he's probably not making the team. But I mean, there's just a lot going on the European side. So if it comes to be that both of them make it, that's awesome. If only one makes it, that's still going to be pretty good.
yeah. No, 100%. I mean, that'd be sweet to see them both. I kind of saw the standings, and his name was like up there. That's why I said he should make the Ryder Cup. But
Yeah, I
anything
mean,
could
it's
change
still
from
early.
now till August, July. I know they picked the team about a month before,
Yeah, it'll be August, end of August, early September.
which is exciting.
Hmm. And
Um,
then obviously
but
we
yeah,
had some
good.
other kind of headlines coming out of Torrey Pines, a little bit
Mm-hmm.
of controversy, if you may, with some
A little bit.
comments from Colin Morikawa.
Yeah. Yeah. My question actually, I kind of was talking to you about it earlier. What are our thoughts on aim putting, or what is it called?
Aim point.
Aim point putting and long putters. Obviously, very different for everybody. Everyone has a different feel of putting. Um, reading greens, stuff like that. Um, it's starting to stir up a little bit. Obviously, Collins now kind of you know, clapping back a little bit on comments that were made towards I believe it was him and Max because they do that and
Hmm.
they he I believe it was Harris English actually. Who was it that said it should be banned?
Well, Lucas Glover was
That's it.
the well, no, it was Colin Morikawa saying like aim point. If we're going to ban aim points, we should also look at long putters.
Yeah.
But yeah, Lucas Glover was kind of the center of attention off of that question because he's been playing pretty well. The thing with aim point that gets frustrating is the time consuming nature of it. I mean, yeah, you got to read your putts, you got to figure out what's going on there. But when you have guys on tour doing aim point from 4 feet, where they're statistically 96, 97% from that range, I don't really think it's helping the tour because all of a sudden you've got a guy who's looking over a 4 foot putt for a minute and a half,
Yeah.
who's walking around the cup, making it harder for guys to make putts after that group. So all of a sudden, if you got your early wave of guys all doing aim point, all stamping around by the green, by the hole, in excess of what they would already be doing, just picking the ball out of the hole, all of a sudden the guys in the later waves aren't making putts because the ball is wobbling within the last couple feet when the ball's slowing down. It
Right.
gets a little bit frustrating in that respect. I mean, at a certain point, you just kind of have to play your game and do your thing. I've seen a few guys use aim point to some pretty good success. In Calgary, Paul Horton at Cottonwood was one of the main instructors for aim point. He's fully trained. He's got a couple courses for that. I mean, I'm sure Paul could probably tell us a lot more about aim point than either one of us would be able to take out of it. But the whole idea is with your feet that you're able to gauge a certain amount of slope in certain areas of the putt, and then using how many fingers you hold up, it kind of gives you like if you're looking out here, the cup is here, the edge of your finger on the other side is where you're aiming, and then it's
Mm,
how far from your face you're actually holding the finger is relative to the speed of the greens. Like there's just a lot going on there to have it where someone who is a very good putter naturally will probably have that done in half the time.
Yeah, yeah,
I, I mean, they're some of the best putters of all time statistically were back in the early 2000s and the 90s. And this was long before aim point was ever a thing.
yeah.
So I'm not going to say that it needs to get banned per se, but I think it kind of comes back to this pace of play issue that's going on, and that was really kind of where this whole thing came up. Of like, you just got to speed it up. Like, if you
Yeah.
want to do aim point, but
Yeah.
do it fast. Like, do it while other people are reading. Don't stand over by your bag until everyone else has putted out, and then go read your 12 footer for 2 minutes and then miss it. Like,
Well, that's kind of what Colin actually said in like the full interview that I watched him. He's like the guys on tour. The issue is a lot of guys are reading the green while you're like doing your walking and stuff, and that's
mhm.
what they have issues with. So he's like, there's no like, happy medium if you like are trying to speed it up. But like, yeah, I don't know. I suck at putting, so I got no comment on this. Um, I just
Yeah,
like it's like getting down on one leg and doing that spider look, like that. Who was it?
Camilo Villegas.
Yeah, right. Getting down and looking like that. That's just silly. But if it works for you, it works. Like the thing is if these guys are notoriously on the clock, right? If Colin and Max, because they're the two main guys I can go off my head right now, saying they use it, right? If they're always on the clock and being watched, then maybe you got to be like, okay, we got to watch these guys, right? But if they're not, then I just don't know if they could be like, well, we need to ban it from the PGA.
Yeah, I mean, there's been so much of a hype about pace of play that they actually have shown from some of the other tours, and I think the LPGA tour they played in like under 4 hours.
Yeah, 3 hours and 47 minutes.
Yeah, and I don't know what the adoption rate for aim point is on the LPGA tour, but when the LPGA plays in 3:45 and the PGA plays in 5:45, there's got to be some sort of medium that you can meet in the middle with.
Yeah,
Like
100%.
the LPGA doesn't have shot clocks. I
No.
mean, it probably helps the fact that the LPGA players are so much more accurate that they're not searching for golf balls. I mean, there was one hole this week that Jordan Spieth, I think it was like the 10th or 11th hole, hits it way right and it's behind a bush, and it took him probably 5 minutes just to decide whether he was going to use a hybrid or a putter to
Yeah.
knock the ball forward.
Yeah.
Like he knew what his shot was going to be already, but then it was just like, where are we going? How far are we leaving? What's it going to do? All this and that, and it's like, okay, well, this is taking up so much time, and that he made the par, which was an incredible par, you know, getting it to 12 feet and then making the putt. And realistically, that was probably $100,000 shot, just the way that the price worked down.
Yeah.
So I mean, probably worth it in the grand scheme of things.
I mean, he
But it
kind of
just,
had that same thing at the Open when he won,
yeah, yeah.
right? He
Where
was
well, I mean,
way off in the tour truck and
when he was doing that, it was a little different because one was inbounds because that was down by the range. They weren't sure if it was inbounds or out of bounds, and then there's certain rules that only apply for like high level professional golf, like the PGA Tour, when it comes to movable media obstruction. So they had like tour vans and media vans down there too. And then it was like,
right.
am I going to get line of sight? But there was no line of sight and like anything like that. So, I mean, there was a little bit more going on in that respect. But I just hate the fact that the PGA Tour has become very like, let me call those a rules official because I want to like
Hmm.
squeak out half a shot by getting a proper ruling when like in the grand scheme of things it's probably not going to matter as much. And again,
No.
it's all situational. Sometimes it's going to be more reflective or more important than other times, but in general, it's slowing down the game with how fine pointed these guys are with it's got to be this and it's got to be that and I've got to make sure that this that and the other thing are going on, and I got to make
Yeah,
sure I get a rules official to come over here and watch me take a drop.
yeah. They need to make sure. And I mean, the issue nowadays too is, I mean, I'll go back to Lexi Thompson. I don't know if you remember this, but in one of their majors, I forget what it's called, the one where they jump in the pond. Do you know what I'm talking
Uh,
about?
I know which one it is. I'm forgetting the name of it.
So she put down her ball marker and then she put her ball down, and I guess it was like off by that much
Mhm,
for where her like where she put it down, where she put the ball down, like all this stuff, right? To a blind eye, you don't know.
mhm.
Okay, like listen, like if I throw my ball marker behind my ball, is it really right behind my ball, or is there maybe a little bit of a gap? I don't know, right? But when I put my ball back down, it's not exactly where it was. It probably should be, right? But like the TV, I guess someone on TV caught it and paused it,
Mhm.
right? Took a picture, sent a thing into the LPGA. Then they came out and gave her a two-stroke penalty for not putting the ball exactly where it was.
And they assessed that the next day too, before she teed
Yeah,
off, which was the
yeah.
crazy thing.
Going
Uh,
into the finals, like with like I think she had like a three-shot lead. She ended up
mhm.
losing by stroke,
Yeah.
right? Which is just insane that like the TV has an option nowadays to even make that happen. Like you have guys in your group for that reason. If you are a professional player, one, you probably should know the rules. Patch agreed. Um, and you should probably be watching these guys swing anyways. You're playing for millions of dollars,
Hmm.
right? We can go back to like Rory and Jordan, and I think it was Rory, Jordan, and JT at I forget what tournament it was, but Rory had to take drops.
Yeah, that was at the Players Championship
The
when it was a question of like where the ball crossed the hazard and
Yeah,
where he was going to drop it, and that took 10 minutes to figure out by itself.
yeah, because they had to
Where,
like get an iPad to confirm where he's saying it went in was like
Mhm,
exactly where he said like that is if you're a sport like the PGA and you're going to iPads to try and figure out maybe within 5 yards to try and figure that out, you're so far gone. You need to figure out other things.
mhm.
Like these guys know how far they hit a ball, right?
Yeah,
You could relatively give or take be like, oh, you hit it out of bounds. You probably carry about 300, 310, right? We give or take Rory about that, right?
mhm,
And so we're like, okay, let's go there. You'll probably see a ball mark because it's going to hit and then it's going to go into the water,
mhm.
right?
Yeah. I mean, the whole thing there too, just in that situation, was CPC Sawgrass has a lot of sloped edges leading into water. So where he was dropping was also going to affect the actual like lie in which he was dropping. And I mean, that's all kind of subjective again, very situational. But the whole thing with tournament golf is like you need to have a consensus from your group.
Yes.
And if you can't come to a consensus as a group, I mean, there's probably a bigger issue there. I mean,
Yeah.
calling in a rules official who didn't see the shot in the first place to do a he said, she said doesn't really help anybody. It leads to backups on the course, and this is where 6 hour rounds come into play. I mean,
Yep.
I've played tournaments where guys are going back to the tee because they couldn't find it, and then they get back there, they hit another one into the same spot, can't find it again, come back, and all of a sudden you're sitting on a tee box for half an hour,
Yep.
right? I mean, if you just have the whereabouts to one play provisionals when you think that you're in an odd spot, keeping in mind that by the rules you can't hit a provisional if you think it's in a hazard. Stupid rule, whatever. Um, you got to make sure that you're playing at an appropriate pace. Like
Yeah.
I'm all for making sure that someone takes a correct drop, but at a certain point, the difference of 5 yards probably isn't going to be the thing that changes their game. If they're taking a drop, they've already taken the penalty.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. So I mean, like kind of getting back to the pace of play, the aim thing, right? Like there's bigger issues on that than your your putting assist, right? Like I really, I think, I think he's reaching. Like Lucas Glover is reaching for something to blame, right? That's helping other guys who are pretty decent at it, right? And I understand like you're putting footprints and stuff on the green, but you know, I personally, again, I've never tested it. I'm not a great putter to be like, this works, this doesn't work. Like, don't tell me what to do, right? Because like if you're gonna tell me that something's gonna work for me, and that could work for me, like I'm gonna be like, yo, I'm gonna use it, right? But I'm not on the PJ, so it really doesn't matter. But I think
Yeah.
banning that is silly.
Yeah, I mean, banning a methodology is one thing. The other side of it with the long putter, that's definitely a spot that could be easier to ban. I just don't think it's an issue. Uh, I mean, you've got enough guys that have long putters and arm lock putters and all this sort of adjusted or alternative putting methods that if you ban one thing, like where does the line stop, right? Do you
Yeah,
ban arm lock then? Because all of a sudden it's the same type of thing where you're pressing it against your arm compared to holding that top part of the long putter or broomstick up top. I know Bernhard Longer was kind of a hot topic for a while because he was one of the guys that has used a long putter for years, and then the no anchoring thing came in, and then he kind of switched out of it by kind of holding it off his chest. And over the years, it seems like people are worried that he's getting a little too close to the chest again with that upper hand. But again, it's if there was a statistical advantage to the long putters, more people would be using it.
well, yes, 100%. I like, and that's it's not like listen, putting is not easy.
Mhm.
Okay, so like if you can give yourself an advantage at any point in time, do it,
Yeah, I
right?
mean,
Like,
in my mind, if you're gonna ban long putters, ban adjustable drivers.
yes,
Like, oh yeah, I have an advantage because I got my driver in a draw setting compared to the other guy who has it in a
yeah,
fade setting. Like, all you're doing is just adjusting your club to be reflective of your game, and that's what a long putter does, right? Some
yeah,
guys have back issues where they can't bend over as much, and they want to be a little bit more upright to help with rotation of the shoulders.
yeah,
Totally fine. Again, if it was noticeably better, more people would do it.
yeah. Or you can cut your driver. All drivers have to be at 46
Mhm.
or whatever, right? Like it's so silly that like people find things that can work for them, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, we gotta ban it, right? And I know Colin was probably just joking around because he's like, why don't we just ban excuse me, the long putter, right? Because that's kind of like how he sounded. He was, but like at the same time, like stop banning things, right? The golf ball rollback, like there's a lot of change that's always happening in golf, and you need it because I mean these guys hit the ball so far, and the
Mhm.
equipment is so juiced up, right? But yeah, I don't know, man. Like I don't think you should ban either one, in my opinion. But
Now, I want to say this too, and I want to make it very clear what I am saying here. If you do not play tournament golf, you should not care at all. If you're just
agreed.
playing Saturday morning rounds with your buddies, use whatever equipment you want. You want to carry 18 clubs? Go right ahead. You want to use a
Yeah,
50-inch driver? Go right ahead. You want to putt
yeah,
side saddle? Be my guest.
yeah.
But like these are specific rules for tournament play where everything has to be a little bit more level,
On point.
right?
Yeah,
Like the amount of guys that come in to the store and are like, "Oh, when's the golf ball rollback gonna come in? When are we gonna start seeing that?" It's just like it's doesn't it kick in for another 4 years, and by that point, you're not even gonna notice the difference because
they're
you
gonna
don't
already
know
be.
how far you hit it anyway. What you think is 300 is 245 on the screen here, and
Mhm.
what you say is a controllable ball flight is has an 80-yard dispersion of a slice. Like
Yeah, yeah,
I'd love to take you at your word, but if I did that, we'd have 1,000 guys on tour.
yeah. Listen, yeah. I think we've discussed the golf ball rollback before. There, no one's gonna see it, right? Like, and by then the ball's already gonna be dummied
Yeah,
down.
and again, like there will be guys that'll see the distance drop off.
Yes.
But the way that drivers are improving, they're getting hotter on off center strikes. So the strikes
Yep.
that you think are going to go shorter are going longer as well. Everything kind of balances out. You're going to have golf balls with more spin coming into greens, which I think more players are going to see a benefit from because a lot of
Yep.
people don't hit it high enough or have enough spin to actually stop the ball with their long irons. Like it's going to be a benefit for 90% of players.
Yeah. 100%. No one really understands it, but you know.
Well, and the fact too is like the golf balls that 90% of people are playing aren't even going to be affected by the performance roll downs that happen. Like if you're not playing a a premium golf ball, so Strixon Z Star, Titleist Pro V1, Callaway Chrome Tour, TaylorMade TP5, anything like that, you're not going to notice a difference playing a Wilson Staff Duo or a TaylorMade RBZ or a
You telling me
Strixon
my
Soft. Like it's
noodle?
just those balls are essentially already conforming to the new regulations.
Yeah, you're telling me my noodle's not gonna go 350 yards? What are you talking about?
I'm sorry, it looks like your noodle's getting a little softer.
Oh, damn. No, but you're right. Like, it's the performance balls that like I mean that we kind of use because we do use them. And we talked about this last week. Rory kind of exposed the market where everyone's like, "Oh, I play the TP5. That's what Rory McIlroy plays." Right? It's like, no, Rory doesn't play that ball. Like, yes, he plays the TP5. He plays
He
the
plays
TP5.
a TP5.
TP5, right? Like, let's put that in quotations. Like, he plays a TP5, but he does not play. Let's go to Golf Town or wherever you buy your dozen boxes of balls. He does not play that TP5. Okay, I'm just gonna say that out there right now. He exposed it when he was in at the TGL match. The balls that they use and the balls that you use are not the same.
Yeah, I mean, we were kind of talking about this earlier. Like, I've got just an old one here,
Oh
Nike
yeah,
Resin Platinum Plus. Like, you usually see these like plus indicators or like double dots or like some sort of additional marking like beside to indicate a tour model ball. This one came from the bag of Paul Casey in like 2014, whatever year it was that I was working at Pritis. But like all the guys on tour have specifically modified golf balls for what they want because the tour allows them to have a certain amount of flexibility with their manufacturing partners to give them that ball. I mean, it's still got to cross through the checkpoints that the PGA and the USGA have for conforming golf balls. But if Rory wants a golf ball that spins a little bit less than a standard TP5, he's going to get that. If Tiger, perfect example, wanted a ball that spun a little bit more than the standard Nike resin, he would go to Nike and be like, "Yeah, make me this," and that's what they did. And that's exactly what like this Nike golf ball was for Paul Casey.
yeah, I agree. Like I mean, I got a cool ball, but um, it and if you look at the ball that we have, I could probably go grab some TB5s, but and look at the TB5s that Rory would use because that's what he's using right now. Um, they're not the same ball. Like it compresses differently. It's the dimple pattern on them is I believe is a little bit different as well.
Yep.
Um because of the compression and stuff. But like I don't know too much about like the tour balls. I've never actually like got to play with them to be honest. So I don't know the difference and I never want to know the difference because I can't afford them and I'm not on the tour, so I don't need them. So do I play tournament golf? Yes. But do I need those balls? No.
Yeah,
Like,
like when you're looking at a tour ball versus like a retail ball, the two biggest spots you're going to see are spin, the spin off of specific layers, and dimples.
yeah.
So you might find that a tour ball has slightly larger dimples or slightly smaller, kind of shallower dimples to hit certain flight parameters that a certain pro wants to see. And again, these are all things that they can kind of adjust fairly simply with a lot of the CNC machining that they have at a lot of these manufacturing plants. I mean, these guys also get sent hundreds of dozens of golf balls to test to find the one that they like anyway. I mean, we've come a long way from the days of Balata golf balls, where guys would hit 100 balls onto the range and they go pick out the 20 that were closest to the center line because those ones had the least amount of production variances between them.
Yeah, yeah. How crazy is that?
Yeah, I mean, there was a I forget where I heard this story. It might have been from Gene Parente, who's the guy who designed the like Iron Byron type of robotic club testing machines that a lot of manufacturers use. But I want to say it was VJ Singh would take 100 balls from Slazenger or whatever company it was. Might not even been VJ. But they hit them on the robot, which is as consistent as a swing as it's going to get, and they're going to watch the ball flight, and it's going to be the 20 that are closest to the center line. Those are the balls I'm using for the next couple of weeks because clearly there's less of a production manufacturing defect on these specific balls compared to the ones that I hit in the same spot with the same club face angle with the same speed that's now 50 yards in the bush.
Yeah, like I mean, it's it's fun to watch when you ever see when they do it like nowadays the tour truck like stuff
Mhm.
when they go through and they're like, this is Tiger's locker, and they go through and you see like even like I know we're talking about balls, but like Tiger's tees, right? He has it has to be the same. Like everything with his tees have to be the same length, right? And like his like the balls that they have like buckets, like not buckets, but boxes of their balls already ready for them for that week,
Mhm.
right? So just imagine like the testing they go through on their off seasons to get those balls ready for them for the season.
Well, plus you go to any tour event and you go by the range, and there's tents of do you play a TaylorMade ball? Here's the TaylorMade range balls. Do you
Yeah,
play Titleist? Here's a Titleist range ball. And they're all Pro V1s or Pro V1Xs relative to what the guy plays. But these are that ball that they're hitting on the range just to make sure that they see everything that's going on too, right? Because if
yeah,
a guy like Jordan Spieth, who has been a Pro V1 guy his entire life, all of a sudden goes over and starts hitting a Callaway Chrome X, he's going to see things that he's not used to. It's going to feel different, and he's not going to know what's going on with the golf ball. And that's where the
yeah.
tour is really kind of catered to the guys with some of the additional features that they have, like having the manufacturers give Pro V1 range balls to the guys that play Pro V1s and TP5 range balls to the guys that play TP5s.
No, and it's I mean for them it makes sense. You want to practice with what you play. I mean those guys practice and play 1,000 times a year, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
it's what they get paid to do. I mean, if I was to get paid millions of dollars to do that as a living, I would hope I got the practice balls that
Shit.
emulate
Give me 50,000 a year. It doesn't even have to be millions. Also take 50,000 a year to go
yeah,
play golf
yeah.
all year.
Give me 100,000. I can give my wife 50, and I can take 50 and go golf. Done.
Yeah.
Listen, right? I'm not I'm a simple man. Okay, I don't need a lot of things. Just a package and $100,000 a year. We'll call it a day.
Not asking for much.
Not asking for much in the golf world. That's little. That's pennies. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like if I'm really like, I mean, I say this a lot, and maybe not for the just your every Saturday guy who wakes up, goes out golfing with his buddies, but you know, guys like you and and I say you and I, and like the guys that we play with, I use one ball. I don't go through a lot of balls. I use one ball, and it's a TP5,
Hmm.
right? It's actually the X because I won't need distance because I bunt the ball. Um, but I use the X, and that's what I use. I've tried the five. I've tried the Pro V1s. Tried the Pro V1 X's. I tried AVX's. Right. I've put them all next to each other. Um, and I find for myself it the X works best, and it's super important if you're playing around after round after round for consistency, right?
Yeah, and
If you're trying to get better at golf, you're not going to get consistent if you're playing a noodle here, a Pro V1 there, Strixon here. Like you have no consistency because you don't know what the ball's going to do.
Yeah, and people overrate or like underrate ball fitting as well. Like everyone wants to get fit for a driver, everyone wants to get fit for irons, and then they go out and they play it with their Kirkland signature golf ball,
Yeah,
right? Like if you're if you're going to go for your car and then you're not going to know what gas you're putting in it, you're probably not getting the performance out of your car, right? If you actually cared that much.
yeah,
There are services that will help you with ball fitting. Ping has a great system with Ballnamics. Now, unfortunately, currently, it's not available in Canada. So if you ever find yourself in the States and you have an opportunity to do that, do it. But even just the idea of Ballnamics is it takes your preference in terms of ball flight, it takes your preference in terms of stopping power with wedge shots, it takes your ball speed with driver and seven iron, launch angles, spin rates, all of that, and compares all the golf balls relative to the characteristics that you want to see. And that's where I was able to do this with the Ping rep a couple years back, and I got fit into the Callaway Chrome Tour X, which is now where I play the Callaway Chrome Tour, just because it has a little lower spin than the X, which is kind of like what I like to see off the tee. But just being able to get fit for a golf ball is going to help increase performance for the guys that are looking for that. Like if you want to take your game to the next level, you got to make sure that you're playing the right equipment, and that gets down to the golf ball as well.
100%. Yeah. I mean, I say this: getting lessons is important, but getting the right equipment is more important.
Hmm.
No, I mean, yeah, yeah. I don't know. You
They
might
come hand in
disagree.
hand.
They come hand in hand. Like to get fitted is going to help in the lesson.
Hmm.
When you're with the right equipment, going to your lessons are going to be just as equal. Because, like, I couldn't imagine for myself, obviously shorter guy, using a regular length club, getting lessons, right? And then cutting it down and being like, why isn't this lesson working?
Yeah.
Well,
Well, I
because
mean,
everything you're
it,
taught is,
you got to
hey,
think of it this way: like if you were to take a 10 handicap with a package set, and then you take a 15 handicap with a fully decked out set of clubs,
yeah,
or a 20 handicap, just to create a little bit more separation, who do you think is going to score better? I mean, probably still the 10 handicap because he could probably work his way around it. But where the 10 handicap would usually be 10, 20, 30 yards past the 20 handicap off the tee, the 20 handicap who's using a QI 35 or a GT2 or whatever driver is probably 20 to 30 yards longer than he would be with that same package set driver.
yeah, 100%. It's really obnoxious. Like
Mhm.
people don't realize the importance of the right equipment. And I mean, you work in the retail side. I've worked in the retail side for a really long time, so we both have seen it. But like, people come in, they're like, I want the QI 35, right? Obviously, I've never had to deal with that, but I want the QI 35. I don't care. I just want to stop. What's your swing speed? 100. So you want stiff? Yep, I'll take it. Well, do you know if that shaft's proper for you? Is that a proper head for you?
Mhm.
Or is it because Rory plays it or Scotty plays it and they're winning with these things, right? You see it all the time. I mean, think of Tiger, right? When Tiger made the switch to TaylorMade, all the time everyone, or when they came out with the Tiger irons, right? Everyone's like, I need the Tiger irons. I want to play the Tiger irons. I'm like, no, you don't. No,
Yeah,
you don't. Like, what are you
nobody
getting out
needs
of?
blades anymore.
Yeah, literally. Like they have MCs, MBs, like play like split packages. Most good players now, even on the PGA, play split packages,
Mhm.
right? Like there's no need for majority of the people who are not professional players to play blades.
Yeah, I think I saw something. I believe it was Colin Morikawa. They did a what's in the bag after his last TGL. And I think it's a uh, split set TaylorMade with P770 on the high end,
Hmm.
P7CBs in the middle, and then P760s on bottom. So like
Yeah,
three different styles of irons within eight clubs. Like
yeah,
you gotta be able to play the clubs that you put in the bag. And if that means going to something a little bit more forgiving in certain areas, then do it, right? don't expect that because you can hit a blade pitching wedge, you could hit a blade four iron.
No, no. Let me tell you, it'll vibrate the hands and real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Like you catch one thin on a cooler, brisk day, your hands are just gonna suck and hate yourself. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
my set because I it's coming in is I got an MC set coming, and I'm just splitting it.
Yep.
Right, I'm doing the um 4, 5, 6 in my 770s, 7, 8, 9 pitching in the MCs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
Right, and
I played a full set of 770s for 3 years.
yeah, I play them. I just don't find I can move the ball properly with the 770s in the 7, 8, 9 pitch.
Mm-hmm.
Too forgiving at that point, which is weird. But yeah, no, having the right equipment just it matters. And I think, you know, even when it comes to balls, like making sure you get the right stuff. So yeah, I mean, we're just talking about it, but if people actually listen to us, who
Yeah.
would know?
And I mean, again, just to kind of help wrap that one up, if you're curious, go buy a couple sleeves of golf balls and take them to your course on the chipping green, around the greens, because around the greens is where you're going to see the biggest difference. Hit a couple of each one, feel the difference between. TaylorMade just came out with a box that we have in stores that is a two sleeve or two packs of TP5s, two packs of TP5X, and 2 packs of Tour Response. This is
Nice.
a great option for guys that want to try different feel of golf ball, different firmness, different. They get the within the CP5s, you would have two where it's normal, two of the picks. So whether you want to have the visual alignment for putting, the tour response is tour response and tour response stripe. So again, good for visuals if you want that. It's just good to be able to go and actually hit the different golf balls and see if you notice a difference. If you
Yeah,
don't notice a difference, chances are the ball isn't the issue.
yeah, yeah, yep. I mean, you said it. You heard it here
At
first,
me.
folks.
At me,
um,
JM Golf 316.
yeah, yeah. Okay, last thing, kind of wrap it up here. What's your kind of take on the Rory comments on Live and the PGA? And for dear God, people calm down when I say this. The Donald Trump upping the PGA and Live come together.
For a president who has been very vocal of we want to import or we want to put tariffs on everything we import, he seems very willing to all of a sudden bring in the Middle East into what is otherwise a private entity of the PGA Tour. I have an opinion that government should stay out of big business. Big business should stay out of governments. Elon Musk. Um, I'm not American. It's not my government. I don't care that much. If it makes it so that way we get top level golf back, I'm okay with it. I mean, I think the only thing with Donald Trump has done so far that I actually agree with is take away the penny.
Yeah. Um, I'm not going to get into politics because it just doesn't go hand in hand. Um, I think for golf, it's good.
Mm-hmm.
I think being able to have someone in power that is close on both sides and kind of mutually be like, "Hey guys, let's gotta get it done." Like it's good for the game of golf. Now, tariffs are just stupid, but
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
what this will do to the worldwide game of golf could be beneficial by bringing Live and PGA Tour back.
yeah,
I don't know if the company PGA Tour and the company Live want to coexist more as much as the players do. But if it ends up being beneficial for both parties, then that's what will happen. I just think in the grand scheme of things, we're going to look back in, let's say 10 years from now and look back at the years that Live and the PGA Tour were separate and what that actually did to the game. And it could be beneficial because, again, it raised tournament prizes. It created additional golf for areas of the world that didn't get top level golf. It maybe opened up opportunities for some players to go and get paid to further their careers otherwise. We're not going to know until we're able to look at it from in the rearview window. But at the same point, I feel like if the PGA Tour and Live wanted to get it done, it would have been done already. It didn't
Yeah,
need Donald Trump in there.
yeah, I agree. And maybe they're closer than what we know, right? We keep saying this because like the players are super hopeful, and the fact that like we are kind of getting more talks. Like you know, I've gotten a couple of messages of people being like, Rory just needs to shut up. He was so like against it all, but now he's like, you know, saying that he's like now good with it, right? Well, like yes, he was against it, but you had to know where he had to be when he was saying it, right? Like he was on the defense of the PGA, right? He was on the board of the PGA. He was the face of the PGA. Like he was under fire,
Mm-hmm.
right? He kind of had to take the stance he did, and good on him for growing up and seeing like what, the game is better with everyone together,
Yeah, Rory has
right?
definitely softened his stance over the last couple of years. Like
Yeah,
it used to be Live guys were absolutely dead to him, and now it's I wouldn't mind seeing these Live guys playing the same tournament as I do.
yeah, 100%. I mean, and maybe that's. I mean, I can't wait for Full Swing 3 because apparently there's a lot of his life that we actually get to see inside it,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm really excited about because you like. I don't know if you saw the new clip it, but
Oh
like
yeah, we're
they
just
they
they're just gonna pry that divorce can wide open
yeah,
and just
yeah,
show us
wide
everything.
open there, yeah, right. And so I mean, it'll be good to kind of see like, I mean, it sucks because we have to see his personal life, right? But
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, like we get to see it. We're gonna find out about it, and like he's one of the biggest superstars in the world, right? He really is. Like not just in golf, globally. Like he's a very well respected person, like around the world, being Europe, U.S., Saudi Arabia, the Middle East, right? So, like, it'll be interesting to kind of see, and I'm glad that he's kind of softened his stance because he is a guy who loves to play in Saudi Arabia and that Middle East. So, like playing, you know, the owners of Live, like they all live over there. It's a bunch of oil money from Saudi Arabia and the Middle East. So it really, I don't know. I get where he's coming from. I think people need to stop attacking them though.
Yeah, I mean, I would just also just make the quick comment for what it's worth. I think we're also going to look back in 10 years at the presidency of Donald Trump and realize that it was the biggest shit show of the US government that's ever happened. But again, I'm not getting into politics. Wrong podcast for that.
Wrong podcast. We could have another podcast
Yeah.
and go over
But anyway,
that. Yeah,
um, I think that might be a good spot to wrap it up for this week.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I'll definitely have some things to follow up on next week, especially if we start getting some details on some of the meetings with Trump. But anyway,
yeah.
um,
Tiger played with Trump the other day.
mhm.
Maybe that's a sign of, hey, let's go. But yeah. Other than stupid U.S. politics, um, yeah.
Yeah,
Let's kind of let everyone know where they can follow us and catch us at.
yeah. Again, you can find me across most social media platforms at JMGolf316. Again, feel free to hit us up in the comments. Let us know what you think. Your opinions on lawn putters, aim point. Have you had success with aim point? Do you even know what aim point is? Tell us what your thoughts are there. Spotify, YouTube, hit us up on all of those.
Yeah, 100%. Let us know if you have any questions. I'm at SDowd17, and then Instagram SDowd17 underscore golf. And then I do the Bogies Are Us Instagram and Twitter. So
There you go.
let me know. All right, man. Well, it was good chatting with you, and we'll talk to you later.
Sounds good.